I've heard that life is what you make it. I say, make room to grow. I'm your host, LaWanda Dockery, and this is the Make Room to Grow podcast. It all started with a dream about growing food, and who would ever imagine that growing food would lead to me learning about personal growth and development? Well, it did, and I want to bring you along for this beautiful ride. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the very first episode of the Make Room to Grow podcast. I am so excited to have you here and so excited to bring you along for my journey of growing food and growing in personal growth and development. So where do we start? Where did I get this concept of make room to grow? God gave me the idea. I had a dream one night about growing food. Mind you, I never in a million years would think that I would be the type to grow my own food. But I had this beautiful dream, so vivid, of me growing these huge heads of cabbage in these galvanized metal tubs on my back porch. And there was such a blue sky that day. And I was growing other small vegetables and other types of containers, but these big, huge, beautiful heads of cabbage just stuck out in my mind. And in the front of my home, remember this blue sky day, sun beaming, I saw a woman of God who happens to have faith in her name. And I don't know if we spoke or whatever, but she was at the corner of my house. And from that it seems really simple, but from right there, I was told that I had to follow this thing out. So I woke up in the morning and I really could not shake it. But I let about 10 days, a week or so go by, and I still had this dream in my spirit. I could not shake it. And so I started to vet it out. I enrolled in YouTube University, as I like to call it. And I started to find information on how can I start, where can I start. Mind you, it's the middle of July. If I didn't know better, I would say I became obsessed with following out this dream. I was looking online. I was checking my local big box store. I was checking smaller mom and pop nurseries. I was looking all around for seeds, containers, soil, fertilizer, anything I could get my hands on. And I got to the point where I probably went into my third or fourth store, and I was used to the response at this point. They say, well, you do know growing season is pretty much over. And at the time I got to the last store, I said, yeah, I know. Just humor me. Show me where the seeds are. Show me where the starter plants are. Show me where the dirt is. And I'm just going to try it anyway. And then it dawned on me, like, this is not so much a natural thing, although it was, but this was a real spiritual thing. This was the ability to take a spiritual download, a spiritual deposit, a spiritual concept, and follow it out. To just believe God at what he showed me, believe God at what he downloaded into my spirit, and run with it. I actually decided that what everyone had to say did not matter. I know what I saw, and I believed God. In fact, this became a determination of, I'm going to prove this out in the face of the naysayers, because now I'd gained some traction and a good amount of people that said, girl, do you know what the date is? You know, you're not going to be able to grow anything at this point. I was determined to grow something. And then I said, well, if I can even have a salad or a piece of lettuce out of this will have been successful. I will have proven this thing out. And so I did. I embarked on this journey and I found what I needed. Let me just say that there are a host of wonderful YouTubers that I learned from. Oh, I hope that as we go on with this, I'll be able to maybe interview them, bring them on, get some wisdom, get some advice from them. But there's a whole host of YouTube community. And so starting with this dream, starting with belief, this one simple concept of growing food evolved into Make Room to Grow. And let me just say that Make Room to Grow, I was pondering about this before I even sat down to record this podcast. And it occurred to me that it is impossible for one to believe in something without making room for it. I could not have believed that I could do this, that I could grow food, that I could garden, even though I knew nothing about it. I could not have believed it, but not made room for it. Think of all the things in life that we have to make room for. We have to make room when we're having a new baby. We have to make room when we're going to move, because we have to pack our boxes. We have to clean our houses. We have to make room when we're embarking on a new career journey. Maybe we have to take some training. We have to make room when we're getting married. We have to literally clean out some of our closets or make room in some of our drawers for our spouses or vice versa. We literally have to make room for these things. And it hit me before I sat down to record this. Like, this is so what this is about. Where are the spaces in your life where you could take what you believe to be true, what God has given you, and you could make room? What can you do that's actionable to make space in your life for what God wants you to have? And I'll stick a pin here to say that I am a Jesus lover. So if that's a problem for you, this may not be the podcast for you. I love Jesus, so everything that I will say will glorify him. Everything that I will say will be rooted and grounded in biblical principles. But I welcome you. I welcome everybody just to experience this joy of going on this journey. But we have to make room. We have to make room in every area of our life where we want to see growth, where we want to see expansion. And God will give us the inspiration as to where we need to make that room. And if we even let's go back to Genesis. Let's go back to the beginning. Even in the Bible, I found myself many mornings, I get up, I make me a cup of coffee, go sit out on my back porch. As I'm seeing these plants start to grow, as I'm seeing life just taking place and blooming all around me, even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, and I know that's a cliche at this point, but it's true. That inspired me to see things around me grow. Was amazing. In a time where hope was needed, and it still is needed, I got to see things blossom around me, and it hit me that this is God's order. This is God's beautiful gift to us, that we get to see the beauty of his creation, the intricacies of his creation, the meticulous way that he put life together. It is so amazing. It allowed me to just be open to all the ways that God expresses himself or has expressed himself from the beginning of time. I thought about the fact that this is the original mandate, that Adam and Eve had a mission to tend to the garden and to keep it. And I got to be a part of that in some small way. I got to have a piece of that. Like, I'm sitting on my back porch and there are things and plants and food blooming all around me. And what a blessing that I've now been given to have my hands get put to the plow in that way. And so that blessed me. And so I thought you would just find that amazing as well. Like, what is God trying to grow in your life, and how can you make the room for it? Seek him about that. Ask him. He'll show you. I remember seeing how people would say, oh, God gave me this vision. God gave me this dream. God gave me this word. And I never really, I never had that specific type of experience. I've always been a dreamer. But to have him give me something so simple and so plain yet so profound, it was so amazing. And then to have the privilege to immerse myself in this brand new culture with brand new language I had no knowledge of prior. I didn't know certain terminologies. I didn't know when you're growing a seedling, if it doesn't have proper light, it'll reach toward the sunlight. That's what you call it. It'll grow tall and it'll be what you call leggy. And it'll sort of grow ahead of its time and potentially not be able to maintain its own weight. These are things that I had to learn, but I learned through immersion. And so I want to just share this with you. This has been beautiful. I am so in awe of God, and I want to share that. I think often of the woman at the well who Jesus met. And he met her in the height of the day. She's going to get water. And long story short, he met this woman who was an outcast, and she had a visitation with him. It changed her life forever. She ran off and told everyone that she possibly could. And that is what this is. I'm telling everyone that I possibly can about an experience that I had that was God-given, that changed my life. Not only did it empower me, but I believe that God wants me to share this so that I can empower others. That in the climate that we're living in a state where some of us are underemployed, some people don't have jobs, some people don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is an opportunity to get back to basics. God has built in, let's talk about containers. Let's go back to the conversation about containers and making room. The very earth is a container that God made for us. He made the very concept, the very construct of what it is to grow and garden. He set us in a garden. So imagine if we go back to that, and how much more could we stave off so-called food insecurity, or those who don't know where their next meal is coming from. We could just enhance lives if we decided as a group, as a community, one by one, we'll just grow one thing. We'll take advantage of the smallest square foot possible that has exposure to sunlight. We'll get our seeds, we'll plan for the spring, and we're going to grow. Period. We're going to improve our health in a time where it's more vital than ever to be in good health. We're going to get some goodness into our systems. We're going to get some nutrients into our system. And by no means am I a health nut, but I'm very aware that we need to take back agency. We need to take back our own futures, really. We need to be empowered that we do have agency in this, that we have a stake in our own well-being. And it can start as simple as growing your own food. You can grow something that you know has not been contaminated with pesticides. You can grow something that you can see grow from a very seed bursting through the soil to in your mouth. And let me tell you, that's the best tasting salad that I've ever had. The one that I saw grow by my very own hands and by God's grace. So I just want to invite you. I hope that this has made sense to you. I hope that this has invited you to go along with this beautiful journey. I hope that you feel inspired that you too can do it, that you can grow something as we are just embarking on winter. Let's look forward to planning. Let's look forward to what we're going to grow. Get your containers. Get your seeds. Go into your local dollar stores or your local job lot type of stores and start sourcing out seeds. Let's talk about this thing. Let's be a community. Let's be a community. Maybe, your people around you and your family. Let's talk about what each one can be able to grow. What space each person has. Let's be creative with this thing. I invite you for this journey. I thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I want you to think about the places in your life where you are going to intentionally build room to grow.